here we are again in July. It's the last Sunday in July, and our theme for this month has been independence. And so our focus has been on freedom, and we've talked about lots of different things. There's been 5, this will be the 5th Sunday this month. And I think it's good because we need to hear the same message. I don't know if you're like me, but I need to hear the same thing over and over again so it really sort of sinks in. And so today I'm going to be continuing on this theme of what it means to be free with the talk, The Untethered Life. The Untethered Life. So last week I shared with you that I've been working with a personal coach to help me as a leader and minister of a spiritual community, and he's helping me to really get clear on what my magnificence is and really ground myself in my power. And so this is my power statement. I've tweaked it a little bit since last Sunday, so here we go. I'm Allie Benjamin, and I am a woman of spiritual truth. What I share with you today is intended to bring you into more of an intimate relationship with your heart, with your power, and with your God. So I want you to think about that as I deliver this talk, and you can hold me. You can come and talk to me afterwards and let me know, did I do a good job at helping you to tune in to your heart, to your power, and to your God. Okay? So you come and see me and let me know if I'm on the right path. A day that an example of me doing this was yesterday. I was invited by the affiliated New Thought Network, which is the organization that we are a part of. It's an organization that has hundreds, if not thousands, of members that have centers just like us, that are meeting on Sundays and throughout the week to come together to be reminded of who we really are, our spiritual essence of nature. And they invited me to come and serve on with other ministers to help with what we call ministerial panels. It's for those students that have gone through the 4-year training that we teach here, and all around at these other centers. These individuals have not only gone through the 4 years of training to become a practitioner, but they've gone on to take another 2 years of training to become a minister. And I had the honor and the privilege to sit with 3 of these individuals, and we were interviewing, testing these individuals to make sure that they had the consciousness that it takes to be a minister. And so I sat for 3.5 hours with these divine beings as I asked them, along with my peers, if they were ready and what their ministry might look like and what is it that they want to do in the world to make positive change. So I feel very blessed and honored to be on this path with a network of individuals, and you I consider as part of that network of individuals that are really helping to awaken humanity. So that's what we're doing here today. If you thought you were here for the cookies and coffee, maybe you were, but I think that you're also here to awaken yourself to a deeper sense of who you are and what life's all about and what you're going to do about that moving forward to create positive change. Am I right? Is that what you're doing? Yeah, maybe one of the reasons. There's more. Community. We're always here to connect with one another. It's so much easier to wake up together rather than wake up in a little mountaintop by ourselves, right? We have to actually do it together in a community. So I've been studying 2 books this month for this talk, and they're both by the author Michael A. Singer. And one is The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. And the other is his newer book called The Surrender Experiment. Has anybody read a Michael Singer book, The Untethered Soul? Okay, a few of you. Well, good. Um, he says, only you can take inner freedom away from yourself, or give it to yourself. Nobody else can. So The Untethered Soul is a deeply spiritual and elegant, simple book about how to free yourself from limitations and discover inner peace. It's made even more interesting by being written by a man who has for decades lived in the woods at a meditation center that he built. It's called the Temple of the Universe, by the way, and it's been in existence for 40 years. Wow, so he was building that and developing that, and it's thousands of acres, can you imagine, while simultaneously becoming founding CEO of $1 billion public company. So this man wasn't just away, oming and chanting and practicing his yoga, which is his primary path, or yoking to the divine. He was actually in the world putting these principles into practice. So when I hear someone doing that, I really want to study that person to see how they do it. Because I feel that they have an opportunity to really walk their talk. And so he explains all of this in the book, The Untethered Soul. Actually, the surrender experiment. Michael tells the remarkable story of that personal journey. It all started with a simple yet radical idea: to let go of personal fears and desires and allow life to take its course. Michael made a commitment early on in his spiritual practice that in general he would say yes to whatever life asked him to do, and just to see what happened. What happened was nothing short of extraordinary. The book chronicles Michael's path from being a fairly distracted college student in a ponytail and Birkenstocks, who essentially dropped out and moved into the woods to focus on his meditation and yoga practice, to becoming an enormously successful businessman and New York Times best-selling author, all the while never moving away from his meditation center or his daily practice. Throughout the book, younger versions of Michael are offered opportunities on the surface that may not have always made sense, but end up resulting in exactly the right thing time and time again. As he hones his ability to let go and to lean into whatever life offers, extraordinary things happen. The perfect people for those roles at his meditation center and business show up at just the right time. Land purchases expand both the business and the meditation center in exactly the ways needed, though impossible to predict. And Michael's seemingly unrelated occupations build upon one another along a seemingly meandering pathway that eventually leads to being founding CEO of $1 billion medical software company whose software was so revolutionary it was archived for historical purposes at the Smithsonian Institute. So all of that happened, and then something amazing happened. He was betrayed within his business, and someone created an opportunity for him to spend several years in prison, which was not based on fact. He was released because it came to pass that he hadn't done anything wrong. But yet he had this opportunity to spend time in prison and stay committed to his practice of being free from his surface mind. So, would you like to hear a little bit more about some of the ways that he suggests that we can become free of what bothers us, which I think, based on what we've been studying this whole month, we come to find out that it's not life that is the thing that's causing us to suffer. It's our thinking about life that causes us to suffer. So the Untethered Soul starts off with asking you the simple question: are you in there? Are you in there? Are you in there? Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Yes? Can you feel something? Are you in there? Yeah. Yeah, I'm in here. How do you know you're in there? How do you know that you're in there? You feel it. Feel it. Yeah. Just as physics tries to understand gravity, understand where things come from, yoga tries to understand who you are, where you came from, and how you're doing in there. How are you doing in there? This is what yoga is all about. Some people think here in the West it's about asanas, about poses, about physical exercise. They think it's about meditation. They think it's about chanting. But really, yoga is for you to tune in to who you really are and awaken to who you truly are. So what the yoga, the practices, the meditation, the physical movements, the chanting, all of that are just techniques that ancient sages and mystics and teachers developed to help individuals tune in to who they really are and find out what they are, how it feels to be you inside of this body with the mind. And this is also what Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, which the Satya Center is based on, teaches. Ernest Holmes says, we are that which has a body, we are that which has a mind, but we're more than that. We're more than that. So who are you? Who's in there? If you're not the mind's like a computer. It helps us to process information and helps us to navigate this earthly realm, this human experience. But who are you beyond that? You can do a little experiment. Close your eyes. Breathe. Who are you beyond your thoughts? Beyond the stories that you have about your past, about the present moment, and about the future. Beyond your preferences, beyond your likes and dislikes, who are you? Imagine that when you came through this door today, that there was a hook for you to hang your coat on. All of us, there's 100 hooks on the wall, and we could have all hung our coats on those hooks. Imagine you hung your whole being on there, your body, your mind, your stories, your identity, your past, your future, and you just hung it on that hook, and then your essential self came and took a seat right where you are right now. Who are you? Who are you without all of that? The very nature, the very core, the very ground of your being. You're the witness. You're the one that's witnessing the comings and goings, witnessing the activity of the mind, deciding what you're going to focus on. Who are you? Take a breath. Put your clothes and your body and all of the stuff back on. Come back to the room. Interesting, huh? When you just take a moment to just let all of that go. Did you get a sense of freedom? Was it a bit scary to let go of all that stuff? Because we're kind of attached to those things, aren't we? I'm kind of attached to my body, to my family, to my role as a minister. I'm attached to the things I like. So that's kind of the challenge here in this walking this earth path is how do we live in the world but we're not of the world? How do we manage the exquisite dance of being this ego, self, this mind, and being this essence, this free spirit that chose to be in this body for 100 years or so. It's a dance. The spiritual path is self-discovery. That's what we do in our classes here at the center. We take 4 years and dive into who are you? What's it like to be you? Do you like the you that you've created? And then we offer some ideas of how you might like to develop yourself in a more meaningful way. Develop a sense of peace and grace and divine beauty and wisdom. We all have the capability to choose who we are. So the surrender experiment, a journey into life's perfection. His book is all about this experiment to fully surrender to the universal flow of life, to always be present in the current moment, to do his best, not to allow his personal preferences to make decisions. So how would that be if you just kind of didn't have any preferences? That you were just witnessing life? Try it this week. Just try it. Just notice when you've got a personal preference, when you'd rather do one thing and then something else happens. It's like you plan a party and it rains. And how does it feel when that happens? You're frustrated, miserable, angry, maybe. But yet on another day it could rain, and you're a gardener and that rain is nourishing those plants, and then you're happy about the rain. So there's a you that can be happy and sad about the same kind of experience. So that's just an example of the way you can learn to see things differently. What if you were hosting that party and it rained and you didn't moan and groan about it? You just saw it as another wonderful adventure that life was presenting you, and maybe you brought the people inside and you did whatever you do inside, or maybe you got umbrellas and did it outside. You know, sometimes we get so rigid with the way we want things to be. And then what happens? We create this inner turmoil then is experienced on the outside. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to witness that. When you bump up against something that isn't going your way, what if you just said yes to it? I don't mean actually say yes, that you might, but just kind of go with it. Kind of go with the flow. Because if we're going with the idea that the universe is infinitely wise, you know, the universe has done a pretty good job of creating itself, including us, hasn't it? It's like, I think it was Wayne Dyer that said, it's like when a baby's born, you know, the whole universe has made it possible. God has made it possible for life to be born within this woman and then come into the world, and then it's like we take it, or the doctor takes it, or the parents take the baby and say, okay, we've got it from here. Well, and we think that we will now shape that human being to become just like us. You know, us humans think that we have a greater awareness about things than life actually does. So what if we surrender to the way life is and trust that the universe is always presenting us with an opportunity for our best and highest good? So we just say yes to things in that way. It doesn't mean that you have to go along with things you don't like all the time, but just try it on. Because when you're easier, when you have this yes energy, it seems that things kind of flow, and somehow you develop the skills or the abilities to handle whatever that challenge or situation might be. He says, my formula for success was very simple. Do whatever is put in front of you with all your heart and soul, without regard for personal results. Do the work as though it was given to you by the universe itself, because it was. So I think maybe that's part of it. We get tied into the results we want. And so when things don't go our way, we now create a story about how it should have gone, but we're maybe missing the wonderful opportunity that the universe has in mind for us that could have been greatly improved from the one that we have for ourselves. Whenever he experienced any resistance to his experiment, he said, I simply stopped for a moment, took a breath, and recognized all the negativity as my mind's initial resistance to change. So we have this mind that has this initial resistance to change. Have you experienced that? When you've got that initial resistance, but then maybe a minute or two goes by and then it's kind of relax a little bit. And so that's just a clue. If my mind does that, can I really always count on my mind? Should I make decisions from that way of being, that reactive way of being that's so ready to point out, oh, it's not my way. So what if we just... Some people are resonating with that. He said, I had already learned time and time again that it didn't matter if I understood what was happening. It was sufficient to devote myself to the present moment and trust that the flow of life knew what it was doing. Fancy that. It kind of just takes a whole weight off of my shoulders to think that the universe has got this thing figured out and I don't have to figure it all out. Whew. And it's been happening all the time, by the way. It's just me getting in my own way. He realized that there are two very different aspects of what we call mind. There was the logical, thought-driven mind that links together what we already know into complex patterns of thought in order to come up with logical solutions. Then there was the intuitive, inspiration-driven mind that can look at a problem and instantly see a creative solution. As it turned out, the years of spiritual work I had done to quiet that voice in my head had opened the door for almost constant inspiration. It seemed that the quieter mind, the more solutions became evident. Have you noticed that? Yes. That when you sink into that more quiet space, not that reactive part of you, but the more centered, peaceful, heart-open place, that you tune into a deeper well of awareness, intuition, knowing. Yeah, that's available to us all the time. If we can not just go into that automatic pattern of reaction and just take a breath, relax, and see what comes up. It's like it's not from here. It kind of just wells up and becomes quite delightful. And then it feels like life is just humming and clicking along because you're now in tune with the fundamental order of the universe. We all have the ability to understand how to master our minds so that we use our mind for particular things, but that part of, let's Cora back there, we tune into that deeper part of us that is way more equipped to handle this thing called life. It's way more in tune with the universe, so when you settle into that witness, Michael Singer talks about kind of settling back inside yourself. Here's the mind, but you kind of just settle back and you allow that subtle energy, it's an energy that rises up inside of you and becomes this wise, loving, creative being, this energy that you really are. And so when we say namaste, it's not just a way of saying hello in Sanskrit. It's saying the divinity in me, this witnessing presence, this higher self. I'm aware of this higher self within me, and I can also see that within you. And so I bow to you, I honor you. And so we live in this witnessing place where we're simply more settled in ourselves, we're less reactive, we're more responsive to the subtle cues of the universe. And then life takes on a whole new dance. And then we're not so likely to be attached to our likes and our dislikes and our preferences. But the funny thing is, the kind of magical thing is, when we're doing this, our likes and our preferences seem to bubble up and emerge and manifest themselves in and as our life. So when we create from this place of, oh, I want to be this way, and they're not cooperating with me, and when we're operating from that energy, even though we may not look like that on the outside, but we've got some of that stuff going on the inside, you know, we're still attracting that kind of experience. Our eyes are not open and available to see the ease and flow of life. We're keeping the rigid and the small. We have a narrow focus of attention, and so we're not expansive, we're not free. We're all here in a mind that always wants to be right, always wants to know, always wants to control. It's good sometimes, but a majority of the time, it's best to be in that place of ease and flow where we're relaxed. So that's what yoga does. The meditations, the chants, yes, and even the movements, the asanas, helps us to get into that flow where we're not believing all of the thoughts that are going on in our mind, and we're giving ourselves, that mind, something else to focus on. So focus on your breath. If you start to come up with some terrifying thoughts, I know you have them, we all do. Just focus on your breath, take 5 minutes, go into the silence, go sit outside in nature, and tune into what is. Because what really is happening in the world, nature, life unfolding, the sun coming up, sun going down, all of that, that's wisdom. That's our teacher, that's our guru. So thank you very much. So I'd like to close in a prayer. And Leslie's going to play some soft, numbing music to take us into that place, opening your heart and closing your eyes and going deep within, into that deep ground of being that you are. So as I settle in, and I speak in the first person, and if these words align with you, then they're your words too. My prayer is your prayer, and your prayer is my prayer, because we're all one. I open up to this one life, this one beautiful experience that is happening every minute of every day. I wake up anew. I am born again to the beauty and the magnificence that is around me, that is in me and all about me. And as I open my real eyes and I begin to see the world as it really is, I see each and every being, every sentient being, as a part of me, part of this one life. We're all dancing together, fully sourced and supplied by the abundance of the universe. But then the experience of lack that we might be experiencing is merely an illusion. It's us trying to hold on, trying to force things, manipulate things to be our way. So I speak my word today into the law that is always listening and always taking my words, imprint of my thoughts, and the universe reorganizes itself to become what I'm seeking. So I speak my word today for love to be present in each of our hearts, for love to be present in all that we do, for love to be our guiding light, for love to liberate us, to set me free. Set me free from all of those small ways of being, all of the doubt and the fear and the shame and the guilt and the uncertainty that I felt along my path. And I simply say, thank you. And I release those things, those lessons that I needed to become the me I am now. Strong, capable, peaceful, joyful, courageous, loving, compassionate, truthful, creative, wise, intuitive. I've become the me that I was born to be, and for this I am blessed. All of life is blessed. So as we wake up together, as we wake up as a community, let us ripple out through our awareness of who we are, how powerful we are, and see those waves of light going out, lifting up hearts and minds, because everything is energy. Thoughts are just units of mental energy that we send out into the ethers, knowing that this one mind connects all life. And so we know that right here and right now, and everywhere, and every here, and every now, I am love, I am peace, I am joy, I am health, I am whole, and I simply have faith and let go of these words, this prayer, this intention, with a simple understanding that God is my source, my supply, and I say yes to life, yes to myself, and yes to God. And so it is. Thank you. So we have an offering to do, and in your program we have a blessing of the offering. And everything that we bring in here to the Satya Center, because we are a non-profit organization that is funded by donation. And so everything that we bring in, we then send out a portion of that into our community. And so I want you to know that. And this month we're helping to support the Ogden Pride Festival, a wonderful festival that's going on. Does anyone know when it is? It's in a week. On Saturday, down at Ogden Amphitheater. So that's a part of where we're funding and sourcing our gifts and offerings to support a loving place for all beings from all paths to experience a greater sense of joy and freedom and pride about who they are and how they shine their light. So that's what we're doing, and thank you so much for your love and your support. So please say to me, joyfully, I give with gratitude, for I know that as I give, I am given. I allow the abundance of the universe to flow through me now. I am so blessed.